What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today, I'm back to tell you about another wonderful new starter deck. I mean, look, we knew that Ulforceveedramon was getting a new starter deck. This is not particularly new information. We knew it was coming. We now just know what Ulforceveedramon actually does. We can take a good look at the card, which is awesome. We also have a set list for the deck, which again is pretty gosh darned awesome. And again, shout out to the lovely folks over at TCG Review and Ensan Gaming. They are the people that are hooking me up with the information here, letting me know what's going on, giving me the translated list of cards and translated card effects, and just generally being awesome people and making my life easier, which I very much appreciate. I'm a busy dude. There's 2 tiny babies running around in this house. Anyone who makes my life easier gets my love. So, we know it is an Ulforceveedramon deck, we know it is a blue starter deck, we know it has a confirmed release date as it stands of the 23rd of April. Obviously, this is the release date over in Japan. This could absolutely change when it comes out over here. We don't know. Well, I mean, it will change. We ain't getting it in April. But the point is, we haven't had a confirmed release date for them. Now, if we have a look at the new cards here, there isn't really very much I can say about them because we have no idea what they do, so we're not going to spend much time on them. But we know we're getting 4 copies of Chibimon, 2 Gabumon, 4 Dracomon, 2 Vmon, 2 Veedramon, 4 Cordramon, 4 Wingdramon, 4 Aeroveedramon, 4 Slayerdramon that I think hasn't been in the game yet, 2 Ulforceveedramon, 4 Ulforcesaber, and 4 Wingblade. Yes, you will notice the same thing we've seen on the 7 other starter decks. This is starter deck 8, if I remember correctly. And essentially what the deal is here is there are 2 ofs. You can be upset about this. You can be happy about this. It doesn't really matter, if I'm honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, because this is the way it is. You do not get a playset of Gabumon, Vmon, Veedramon, or Ulforceveedramon in the starter deck. If you want to get a playset of them, you've got to go and buy 2 starter decks. Or buy singles, but singles is awkward because if you buy a starter deck and sell the singles, you've got a waste of a starter deck, basically. So I've not found singles from starter decks to be particularly cheap or good value. Better off getting the starter decks. So you'll have to get 2 of them. And I made this point before. I quite like the fact, there's 4 2-ofs here. If they were all 4-ofs, we'd have 2 fewer cards. So I don't know, there is that. I understand how people don't like this. I do love that we get a booster pack in our starter decks over here. That is at least something. And yes, I know they are more expensive than Japanese starter decks, but I'm also fully aware that $10 is pretty much what everyone charges for starter decks without booster packs in. Now, we are getting some reprint cards here as well, like we saw in the Gallimon starter deck. The first 6 starter decks, 1 for each colour, there were no reprints. We're starting to see reprints here. So we have got 4 copies of the Elecmon from BT1, and this is cool. It's a 2 cost to play normally, 0 cost to Digivolve, 3,000 power Digimon. It's not particularly powerful or good, there's no effects, it's vanilla and all of that, but it's a 2 cost to play normally, it's cheap, we like it. We've also got a full playset of the Gorillamon here. And if you watched my video on the Gallantmon deck yesterday, you're going to start seeing some real similarities. Because, of course, Gorillamon is just Dark Tyrannomon that we looked at is getting a reprint in the Gallantmon deck list yesterday. Like, they're literally the same card, but different colour, name, and artwork. But in terms of stats, they're exactly the same. It's a 1 cost to Digivolve level 4. That is a very good thing. It means you can go up through your levels faster, and people like this. For what it's worth, we can look at Elecmon here and go, well, hang on a second. It's exactly the same as Monodramon, which is a level 3 that is getting a reprint in the Gallantmon deck, which is kind of cool. We are also getting 2 copies of Monzemon here. Now, I love Monzemon. Monzemon is quickly becoming my favourite Digimon. Look how cheery he is. But it's a fairly standard card. It's 5 cost to play normally, 2 cost to Digivolve, 6,000 power. Worth pointing out, of course, that for a level 5 cost to play normally is cheap, and 2 cost to Digivolve is cheap. So this is really cool. And it's just a different type of Groundramon, which got reprinted in the Gallantmon deck list. So basically, all 3 of the reprints coming in the starter decks are the same as in the other deck, just reskinned. But stats-wise, they're all vanilla and they're all exactly the same stat-wise. And then we got 2 copies of Hammer Spark. Now, I'm slightly indifferent here. No, that's not the word. Ambivalent. Because on the one hand, this is brilliant. Hammer Spark is the best thing about the original blue starter deck. It is the card everybody wants the most. It's an amazing option card that sees a bunch of play. It was only a 2 of in that starter deck, so getting a 2 of in this starter deck is also awesome. On the other hand, I showed you that the Gallantmon deck is getting a playset of Gaia Force, which is the equivalent card in the first red starter deck, and is even better to be fair. So why does the new red starter deck get a playset of Gaia Force, but the new blue starter deck gets half a playset of Hammer Spark? Maybe there is some deck construction reason behind it, but this would have been such an easy win for Bandai to go and put a playset in here. And I know I sound a little bit mean here because Bandai is still being cool. They are still giving us a reprint of this card. They are still giving us an easier way to get hold of this card that everybody likes that was exclusive to the starter deck. I get all of that. And obviously, if Gaia Force was a 2 of in the red starter deck, I wouldn't even be making this point. So I'm probably being a little bit mean. But either way, it's being reprinted. That was the best thing about the blue starter deck. This is awesome. And of course, properly opens the door to do this again in future. But now, the best. Also, I should mention, we can't see brilliantly, but the Monzimon is actually alternate artwork. So even the old reprinted cards, it does look like they're getting new artwork, which is really cool, and I love it. Now I want a better quality picture of the Monzimon. But the fact that they're giving us the best option cards, really the best cards from those original starter decks reprinted, is cool. Now, Ulforceveedramon is a brand new card, and the good thing is that the lovely folks at Entan Gaming have gone and given us a bit of a translation. And what we can see here, although actually I think this translation comes more from TCG Review, we've got a 12 cost to play normally, which is slightly high, 12,000 power, which is slightly high, and I cannot quite make out that evolution cost. It's obviously a 3 or a 4, but it's quite hard to see from here. They must have a better quality image than I've got in front of me at the moment. I would very much like to see it. Hopefully by the time I post this, I will have found a better quality image so you can see what the evolution cost is. 3 is standard, 4 is a little bit high. And what we've got here are 2 skills. When you Digivolve, you return one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon to their hand. So it doesn't delete them, it puts it back into their hand, they can just replay it, but it still gets one off the field. Obviously, doing this against something like a Gabumon would be silly, because when they replay it, they get to draw a card. It's a good thing. But you're taking a card off the board. Remember, cards that are played cannot attack the turn they are played, so they're going to have to wait another turn to attack. They're going to have to pay memory to replay it. It's nice for getting one off the board. When you attack once during your turn, if you've got 8 or more cards in your hand, make this Digimon active. So as long as you can keep 8 cards in your hand, you can attack twice every turn with this. Which on the one hand sounds absolutely flat out amazing, and on the other hand, how often do you have 8 cards in your hand? And don't get me wrong, if you're going to do it with anyone, you should do it with blue. Gabumon draws a card, but remember you're playing a card, so you're only replacing, you're not actually building. Uppermon, when you've Digivolved from it, when you attack, you get to draw a card once per turn, so that's good. We've got the Taikamiya V-Tamer, that promo Tamer, whereby if you've got a Digimon with Veedramon in its name, once during your turn, you can suspend it to draw a card. So that is going to give you extra cards, which is nice. You've got Vmon, that when a Digimon you've got becomes unsuspended, you draw a card, which of course would combo with this, because you become active and then you draw a card with Vmon, which is kind of cool. So there are options. I should, I suppose, also mention the level 2 Demi Vmon, that once during a turn, if you've got jamming, you draw one when you attack, which it's cool, but it's not really that much well, different to Uppermon. My point is, we've got some options for drawing cards. But how many times when you're playing Digimon can you actually get a hand of 8 or more cards? And the answer is sometimes you genuinely, legitimately can. And in games like that, this is going to be an absolutely brilliantly, awesomely, brokenly awesome card. Because you just get to attack twice, which is brilliant. But then again, if we go back to the original starter deck, we've got Metal Garurumon, and Metal Garurumon, when you attack, you unsuspend this Digimon. This one, when you attack, if you've got 8 or more cards in your hand, you unsuspend this Digimon. So, the only real reason to play it over Metal Garurumon is if you're playing an Ulforceveedramon deck. And to be fair, the Ulforceveedramon from BT2 is pretty good. When one of your blue tamers becomes suspended, you unsuspend it. And when this Digimon becomes unsuspended, you gain a memory, although that is limited to once during your turn. So that's cool. So maybe you build them up, and maybe you put it into that deck. But is the evolution skill that gets rid of one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon really good enough to play this over Metal Garurumon? Metal Garurumon always makes itself active. It has no other skill. This, you've got to have a hand size of 8, but you do get rid of a level 4 at the same time when you Digivolve. I don't know how much I'm loving this, ladies and gentlemen. As a tech in an Ulforceveedramon deck, sure. But if you want an Ulforceveedramon that makes itself active, the one from BT2 is better. If you want a level 6 blue that unsuspends when you attack, Metal Garurumon does it better. Let's give it 3 Wassies. I don't think it's a bad card, but when I put it side by side with the other cards that we've seen, I think we can make some comparisons here which are, to be polite, slightly less than flattering. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/BTCG where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassie Plays.